Welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle. Yes, that's Sharon Angle. And yours truly, Rick Trader. For rebroadcast, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or CCRS Network. Please like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. And Sharon, we have been talking about what I consider a huge win, not just in the state of California, but possibly all across the country, and an agreement between the County of Los Angeles and the Election Integrity Project and Judicial Watch for the County of Los Angeles to scrub its voter registration list, maybe taking 1.5 million dead or unused voters off the rolls. And we have with us the lady who is the pivot in getting this done. Please make that introduction.
Well, it's my pleasure to introduce Linda Payne, who's president of the Election Integrity Project and president and co-founder with Ruth Weiss of Election Integrity Project California, a 501c3. Linda co-founded the Tea Party in Santa Clarita, California, and in December of 2010, she co-founded the Election Integrity Project. Since the Election Integrity Project was founded, volunteers have diligently researched voter rolls and have trained approximately 9,000 volunteers across the state to observe polling locations and report their observations. EIP California retained Judicial Watch as its lawyer, resulting in a win for the people of California and for America. Welcome
Amen
to
to that.
Conservative Commandos radio show, Linda Payne.
Thank you so much for having me. I am very excited to be on the show and share with you whatever you'd like to hear. There's so many details, so I'll try to keep it tight for you.
Well, we know that Judicial Watch didn't have a case without the grassroots efforts of Election Integrity Project there in California. Talk a little bit about Election Integrity Project and why you have one in California, how this is a national group and your state chapter. Just talk about the formation of it and what you do.
Okay. Well, we actually run two companies. In 2010, we actually formed the Election Integrity Project. We were the first to use the name, and we're excited that we're actually trademarking the name. Judicial Watch has an arm also called Election Integrity Project, so it does confuse people, and that's why it took just a second to clarify that. We worked under the for-profit for about 6 years because at the time the IRS was not giving nonprofit status to conservative-type organizations like ours. And we're not conservative, we're nonpartisan, but we knew from what our attorney said back then, we likely would not. So we began the work as a C corporation, and we did 6 years of a tremendous amount of documentation, all volunteer. We ran the data county by county and in the state and provided critical information to registrars, the Secretary of State, Department of Justice. We even had a civil rights hearing. Nothing was done to fix the problem. And so after the 2016 election, we documented so much corruption and fraud and even criminal activity in the polls that we decided to start publishing our data research. And it was that drew the attention of Judicial Watch, because our data team, who is amazing and worked countless hours, think outside the box and have figured out how to run queries to actually get to the bottom of how this is happening. We put out a press release that basically showed that California has about 3 to 4 million
Wow.
inactive registrants on the statewide voter rolls, and over 1 million in the LA County voter rolls. And so once they called, they said this is serious, and they asked if we would consider being their main plaintiff. They found 4 additional citizens who said they would also be a plaintiff to show that citizens are also being harmed, and that's how we went forward.
Wow. Well, it's not just LA County. Talk about the other counties that you've uncovered, and does this make a difference in elections? Could this change elections and the whole complexion of the state of California? We want to know, is Reagan coming back? Are the Reagan conservatives still there?
Well, absolutely. It makes a huge difference, and that has been our concern from the very beginning. We formed the nonprofit Election Integrity Project California in order to take part in this lawsuit. And what we provided was solid documentation that for instance, 1.5 million inactives in LA County, they are people who have died, people who have moved, they are duplicated voters, they are non-citizens, I mean, you name it. They are people who are not eligible to vote. And LA County alone has approximately 485,000 on that list that are ineligible. We learned that LA County and the state of California has not removed even one inactive for 20 years, and that's why they're so bloated. We have identified in 2014 and 16 that people began telling us they were not receiving their vote-by-mail ballots. They somehow disappeared, and so they were forced to vote with a provisional ballot. This was so big in 2018 that LA County had an approximately 400,000% increase of provisional ballots because so many people registered as vote-by-mail voters did not get them, and then regular voters were changed without knowledge or permission to vote by mail, and they did not get it. Our concern finally showed up in 2018 that those missing ballots were being voted by someone, and sure enough, we have documentation from citizens who did not get the vote-by-mail ballot, went to the polls to vote provisionally, and were told their vote-by-mail had already been processed. So our concern now taps right into the ballot harvesting law, which we opposed because it destroyed integrity in the process. We're concerned that the tens of thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands across the state of missing vote-by-mail ballots may likely have been harvested by someone and voted. So this is why inactive voters can still end up voting because they're on the list. All one has to do is send a vote-by-mail ballot to a name that's on the inactive list, send it to a post office box, and have someone pick it up and put it in the mail. And that's how easy it is to activate an inactive voter. And that's, again, the law that was passed with the ballot harvesting. I think it was passed, it's my opinion, I'll just say that. We have been providing documentation of our concern of this pattern since 2014. And we know it's happening because the managers and owners of mailbox stores have contacted us to ask what to do with the 50 vote-by-mails that were left in box number what.
Oh, my gosh.
Or another. So they know that there should only be, if someone didn't vote, it should have been an individual or a family at the most. But 50 and another owner had 100. So that is, we suspected at the time they could possibly be inactives that were activated and held in the post office box until they determined they were needed, and then that is where they were harvesting those ballots and then putting them in the mail. So we're going to dig deeper into the ballot harvesting. We think that should be repealed, and we think every state in the union should prohibit a ballot harvesting law from being enacted.
Well, thank you for explaining that, because we couldn't figure out why there was such a rush here in Nevada to get everybody who could vote to vote and making sure that those ballots were cast. We were getting people walking door to door and everyone was saying this is really uncommon. And it was 10-4, Democrats to Republicans. The Democrats were really into this, as you say, ballot harvesting. They were going after those votes, and it's amazing to me that they're allowed to get away with this. Can we turn elections around? Can you take those that were ineligible to vote, that actually voted, and ask for a re-election, a redo on the elections in California, especially there in LA County?
Well, we've actually asked that question because it is our concern that so many races of candidates who were winning by large percentage and large numbers of votes, even Arizona, the Secretary of State candidate here was winning by 44,000 votes until all the new vote-by-mail ballots came in, and then he lost. It's exactly the same pattern. But we know we have to fix it in California because it will trickle across the state if we can prove it. what we're attempting to do now, we have 2,000 reports signed under penalty of perjury that from our observers, from witnesses whom our observers spoke with, and now from citizens coming to the website and filling out a citizen incident statement telling us what's going on. So many are describing the same pattern. So we would like to do a deep audit of every ballot that was put into an envelope. So if you've got a vote by mail ballot and a corresponding provisional ballot, we want to audit those signatures. We want the citizen to tell us which one is theirs. And then we'd also like to audit the sign-in sheets, because we'd like to know if someone impersonated a voter and signed in to vote. We had a huge number, thousands, that were coming in and just simply saying, I want a provisional ballot. And that's highly suspicious. And then the fourth thing that we're going to look at, the vote by mail, the provisional, and then the ballots that were used for same-day registration and voting, and then, of course, the ballots that have to be remade. Our teams documented in the ballot processing that machines were not working, and they were crushing and bending and mangling the vote-by-mail envelopes. When that happens, that ballot has to be taken out of the envelope and remade. That means that two people sit side by side. One person reads the voter's intentions, and the other is supposed to mark them exactly as they hear them onto a new ballot. We've identified since 2014 that doesn't always happen. And so they are stapled together. They have to be stored and kept, and we'd like to audit those to make sure that every voter's intentions were transferred to the new ballot exactly as they intended.
Well, we're now on television in Northern California, and many of the places where you are going to be going this month, San Francisco, San Rafael, Marin, North Bay, San Jose, Silicon Valley, Santa Rosa, Wine Country, Redding, Chico, Sacramento, and Monterey. Those are the places where you can hear Conservative Commandos. And I'm going to shout out to our listeners there. Please go to Linda's website and report any anomalies that you saw during the last election. This group is just a group of volunteers, aren't they, Linda? And could you give us your website before we go to this break?
It's www.eit-ca.com. And there are several options for telling us your story. You can click on the survey and answer the questions. You can click on Contact EIPCA, or there's a citizen incident statement in a PDF format for both the primary and the general election. You can download that, fill it out, and then mail it to our office in northern LA County.
Well, this is so important. We want you to stay through for the next segment with Rick. Linda, I'm going to identify and we'll be right back. We are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. And also, we can be seen on the AUN TV network in Northern California. We'll be right back with our co-host, Rick Trader. I'm Sharon Engel, and our guest, Linda Payne with the Election Integrity Project.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share.
It's freedom from insurance.
At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down.
We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty
Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America. where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
And welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. For rebroadcast of our shows, check out our websites, ccrshow.com. You can hear our radio show there and watch our television show at conservativecommandosradioshow.com. Our guest this segment is Linda Payne. She's the president of the Election Integrity Project, and the state of California and the county of Los Angeles they have agreed to start removing from the voter registration rolls as many as 1.5 million inactive registered voter names. And I think this is great news, not only for Los Angeles County in California, but I think this is great news for all of the United States. Hey, Linda, thank you for holding through that break. We appreciate your time, and we really appreciate the efforts that you and the Election Integrity Project of California has taken on. I really do think this is great news for all of America.
Thank you, and so do we. I'd like to brag just 2 seconds on our data team. They
Sure.
work so often at their computers and nobody hears their names. But our programmer is Carl. Our chief analyst is Ellen, and Ellen Swenson actually does speaking for us and can go deeper into the actual data work and what the reports look like. But without them, we would not have uncovered the depth and breadth of what we have and what we provided for this lawsuit. Judicial Watch tells us that this was the strongest NVRA case in the country.
Wow.
And I believe it is because of the incredible documentation that we provided for the case.
Well, you know, Linda, listening to you, I'll tell you what goes through my mind, and it's gone through my mind a lot the last few years. The system is broken. Let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, the system is broken. I mean, this is proof positive that our elections are not fair, they are not honest, and they are corrupt. And I think if we have any right in this country, it should be the right to have fair and honest elections. Linda, of this possibly 1.5 million on the voter registration that are inactive voters, do you have any idea how many of these inactive voters there was actual votes cast for?
Oh, that's a research project we're starting to work on now. Because we purchase the data on a regular basis, we can go back to even a year ago and see what the snapshot was of who were on the inactive list. Then we can match that against the data that we bought just before the elections and see were any of them all of a sudden activated.
Right.
We wouldn't be concerned about someone who is activated after not voting for a year or two or 3 or 4, but someone who's not been voting for 20 years, that was already activated would be of great concern, and that does appear to be what transpired with ballot harvesting. A huge number of what would be considered very low propensity voters all of a sudden voted.
Right.
We just purchased, we're in the process right now of purchasing new data for the state and the counties, all of the southern counties, and we're going to check the inactives on that list, and that will at least give us a starting point to identify if, in fact, long-lasting inactives were all of a sudden activated. From there, we can then dig deeper. Were they on the deceased? Did they move? You know, there's just a lot of questions that we can ask and we can dig into to find out what happened.
Linda, what is it going to take to stop this voter fraud? Is it going to take prosecutions? I mean, heavy prosecutions of people that vote fraudulently and people that push these people to vote fraudulently. Do we need prosecutions here?
I don't think that's going to happen because the real problem is the federal laws. The National Voter Registration Act and the Help America Vote Act were passed during a time in our history when, number one, organized manipulation of the vote process was not really looked at, and non-citizens, both legal and illegal, really did not get driver's license to the degree they are now. So something has changed in the fabric of our country in which more and more people are willing to organize an effort to do whatever it takes to get their candidate across the finish line. We have to go to Congress and change, they have to change the federal laws, because the federal laws actually open loopholes for the states to use. And that's what California has done, is use legislation to destroy integrity in every aspect of California's election system. And then, of course, those who are willing to cheat and manipulate the system walk right through those doors and do exactly that.
Linda, I'm reading statistics here. The entire state of California has a registration rate of about 101% of its age-eligible citizenry, and that 11 of California's 58 states have registration rates exceeding 100% of the age-eligible citizenry. You guys got a big job out there in California. Where are you going to go next?
We have already begun a mentoring program in states where they're interested, and Arizona is now working on it. We're trying to help them shortcut a little bit of the learning curve that we had. There's a national call that we have every other week with the other states who at least are researching the data. And right now, of the states that are on that call, we would like to call a national town hall and a rally on the steps in D.C., demanding that Congress fix the federal laws, and that the states and the citizens have a right to know that they have a fair and honest election, that non-citizens and ineligible people are not voting, and that the entire process can be like California and Nevada, and I believe Texas, where we can oversee and ensure that it's fair and honest.
Linda, this national call, how can people get involved in this?
Well, we're going to begin talking about it in California first, which Ruth and I will be starting on Thursday, in fact, driving through the state, meeting with citizen groups all through the end of the month. We will start from San Diego and go all the way to the Siskiyou County. We're going to lay out our vision for becoming visible. The silent majority is also the invisible majority, and we have to become visible and demand it. So if Californians can help to pull it together to get there in D.C., we're also going to then be able to say that to the other states. If they go, we will be there in force, and that has to happen. Californians have fought this for now going on 9 years, and the rest of the country thinks that Californians are voting to destroy their own state. So if they're visible, we'll pull it forward. We'll get the word out to organizations like you. The mainstream media will not cover this. We need to speak with people like you. So it's going to be a citizen grassroots effort to launch this.
Linda Payne, Election Integrity Project of California. Man, I think the work that you're doing, Linda, is terrific. Please tell our audience how they can find out more about the Election Integrity Project and how they can help you.
The best way to do it, we're going to make our website a hub of information, and that will make it easy for people to go there and learn, or to sign up to volunteer, or to donate. We would like to expand our data research. We struggle, and we like to help people. We ask people to help us with branding. People are very confused with Judicial Watch's Election Integrity Project, and many donate to Judicial Watch because they didn't mention us in their press releases.
Right.
So that's one thing we can ask people to do, is use the new nonprofit name instead of Election Integrity Project. We have trademarked that name, but we are functioning under Election Integrity Project California.
Okay.
So that would be the way. Go to the website, and we can go from there.
And give me that website address one more time.
It's www.eip-ca.com.
Linda Payne, I want to thank you so much for joining us on Conservative Commandos. And more importantly, I want to thank you for what you do, because you prove that one person can really make a difference in our great country. Linda Payne, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
Thank you. It's my honor.
And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader.
I saw voter fraud with my own eyes. Now, people say, why didn't you report it to the authorities? Well, they were the ones doing it.
The integrity of one man, one vote doesn't apply at the Texas state legislature. There is no way to know if your representatives are voting for themselves.
Hartman, a Republican, reaches back to vote for Democrat Oliveira. Democrat Matt Reynolds votes for Republican England.
2 out of 3 voters nationwide believe that voter fraud is a serious problem in the U.S. today.
The process is rigged.
Both sides of the aisle are guilty.
Florida now has to tell the Department of Justice whether the state will comply with DOJ's demand to stop purging thousands of people from its voter rolls.
We have the sloppiest election system of any industrialized democracy.
Philadelphia flagged 50,000 duplicate registrations, so just think how many more slipped through.
It's almost impossible to detect. How do you get caught? You only get caught if you confess.
Election corruption is deeply embedded in America. Quote, election fraud is a crime that usually pays, unquote, writes Tracy Campbell in his book, Deliver the Vote, A History of Election Fraud, an American political tradition from 1742 to 2004. In 1742, the first Prime Minister of Britain in the American colonies, Robert Walpole, was forced to resign.
We have a right not to have our vote canceled out by someone who shouldn't be voting, someone who's an illegal alien, someone who's a felon not eligible to vote, someone who doesn't exist. If they vote, they cancel your vote out as much as if you're prevented from voting.
If this is going to be fixed, it's going to have to be a citizen effort. It comes down to, it's the same old question, if not now, when? If not us, then who?
This is huge. This is about the democracy and the principles of the United States of America. People say, but why you? Why you? Why not? And if it starts with a fireman, if it starts with a sanitation worker, if it starts with a teacher or a nurse or a caretaker of the elderly, then so be it. It's got to start somewhere. But it's time we come together and fix this problem once and for all.
There is no serious person out there who would suggest somehow that you could even rig America's elections.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
Serious allegations of voter fraud, the claims raising questions about the
Commerce Secretary Ron Brown and 32 others were on a military plane that crashed today in a violent storm. There are no known survivors at this time.
The U.S. Army was funded by the evil entity.
I saw voter fraud with my own eyes.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
The process is rigged.
People die in the fall for the right to vote. It's
So it's incredibly important now that we draw a line and say, not on our watch.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share. It's freedom from insurance. At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down. We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
Once again, thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, the doctor for the Republic, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. Want to give a shout out to the folks who listen to us on stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas, and in Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster, and Pittsburgh, Boulder in Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, California, and seen on the AUN television network in California. Dr. Sheikh, we have our next guest with us. Please make her feel welcome.
I will do so. Thank you, Rick. We have Ellen Swenson, who is the chief analyst for the Election Integrity Project in California, which is a citizen-funded, nonpartisan 501c3 corporation. Ellen, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, great. Well, we're going to be talking about your article about which you wrote, Get Ready, California-style elections are coming to your state. Before we get in the article, I just wanted to ask you, what did you think of the win that Judicial Watch had in terms of basically saying that they're going to be purging nearly up to 1.5 million, or the beginning to start, if they do it? But well, is that something that you were sort of in the in the background, sort of? Or?
Oh yes, we were the key plaintiff in that action.
Okay.
Judicial Watch was our attorney. Yes, so it's a win for not only Judicial Watch but for Election Integrity Project California, and most importantly, it's a win for the voters of California and actually the nation, because they have not the state has not been properly following the federal law that requires them to maintain the voter list in an accurate and timely manner. And it came to the point where we had to take legal action in order to force them or to coerce them to do their job. So they will begin. Los Angeles County is the first county, but they will have to address the 1.5 million inactive registrants they have who are inactive, but they can still walk in and vote. And they need to find out whether those people still exist or not. And if they don't, if they're not eligible anymore, then they need to cancel those registrations.
Now, are there entities like yours, for example, that are across the United States and together, or is this particularly just formed, obviously, just for the state of California?
Yeah, our organization is just based in California. There are other organizations in other states, and in fact, we are assisting other organizations in developing their data analyses and their structures and so on, so they can do the same thing that we're doing out here in California.
Now, the other thing is, can you sort of give us an idea of, one of the things is that in terms of, I think I have it here, is that when they are, what is this harvesting of ballots? Because, you try to get an idea of harvesting and you read online, but to give our sense of our audience, even myself, give us a better understanding of what does that mean and how did that play a part when people said double-digit percentages were eroded up in Orange County by the Republicans?
Well, what happened is we used to have a law in California that a vote by mail ballot could be returned by the voter themselves, or they could designate what's called a third party, which would be a close relative or someone actually living at their address, like a daughter, or a parent, or a roommate. And number one, they were not following that law for the most part. We have observers we put out into elections, and they were constantly reporting that third party person, people other than the allowed third party, were returning ballots. And so we made a complaint about that, and instead of complying with the law, they simply changed the law. So now anybody can handle and return a vote by mail ballot. So now what's happening is that these activist groups and political campaigns can get their volunteers or their paid people out to actually go to the neighborhoods and collect ballots, potentially coerce, potentially discard certain ballots. They can't be paid per ballot, so that's the one restriction, and they have to register in advance that they're going to be doing this. But this is what happened this last election. The Democrat Party had a better ground game than the Republican Party, I guess, and so those ballots that were dropped off at the last minute got counted later after Election Day, and that's where those double-digit leads got dissolved.
So in other words, the Democrats actually were, like you said, they outmaneuvered the Republicans in this.
Yeah, so it's actually legal now to do this harvesting. It's probably not constitutional. It's probably going to be challenged, I hope. We hope we be part of that challenge, because it's the chain of custody of that ballot is then in question. It really should go from the voter directly back to the voting office, but or to the polling place. But when someone is in between handling it, we don't know what happens, and it's possible that it opens the door for coercion, bribery, discarding of the ballots. It's just, and then also it creates that people are being harassed in the neighborhoods, and that's not right either.
I mean, that's the thing, for example, is that, I don't know, Rick, maybe, you've been at this a lot longer than I have, but have you ever seen where it's the opposite, where, leads of double digits are evaporate on the Democrat side?
No, I haven't, Nasser, but we've seen and we've heard many stories of voter fraud, and how our good friend Sharon Angle, co-host on this show, polls showed her with a 6 to 7 point lead. The exit polls showed her with a 6 to 7 point lead over Harry Reid. But when all the ballots were counted, and I mean all the ballots were counted, she lost. And, I think that Ellen is more of an expert on this, can speak on this more than I can, but because there are places in California, and please jump in, Ellen, correct me, that you have more people registered than people who would be of age to vote in certain counties. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, that was the basis of our lawsuit with Judicial Watch.
Right.
That was the irrefutable evidence. We can complain, and we've complained about hundreds of thousands of dead people and duplicates and so on the rolls. But when that actual number of people on the voter rolls in 11 counties exceeds the eligible citizen population for those counties, then you have irrefutable evidence, and that's what Judicial Watch used in the lawsuit that we were a part of. So, and that really, that's, how can they argue that's all right? But the other thing that happened with this overturning of these elections in Southern California and Orange County in particular is that there on Election Day, and we observed this out there in the polls, we had thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands of vote-by-mail voters who did not receive their mail ballot on Election Day. So they came to the polls and they had to vote provisionally. This created a surge in provisional ballots. For example, Los Angeles County is normally about 100,000 provisional ballots in a midterm election. They had 400,000 provisional ballots in this last election, in this last midterm. That's 300,000 more, and they attributed it to mail voters, people who normally vote by mail, who did not receive a ballot, had to come to the polls, but they did not have a ballot to surrender, so they had to vote provisionally. So those provisional ballots were also counted late after the election, and those were also a source of the change in the results from election night. So there are two things went on: these harvested vote-by-mail ballots and these provisionals that people were forced to vote. We don't know if the missing ballots were stolen or something. We don't know what happened, but the counties I've spoken with so far have denied that anything went wrong in terms of their mailing out of those ballots.
Nasser, if you could, let me just ask Ellen a question about these provisional ballots. Could they also have been people who were not on the voter rolls?
Yes.
that
So
went
that's
to vote and they weren't on the rolls.
Yeah,
They were given to.
that's the normal reason that you have provisional voting. And our rolls are so messed up that we do have we have more provisional ballots cast in California than all the other states combined. It's a big problem. It shows we have messy voter rolls. But this time, we haven't gotten the data yet, but I believe the number one reason this time will be people did not receive their mail ballot. And they had to vote provisionally. So we'll be monitoring that and try to find out what happened to all those missing ballots.
Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, we are speaking with Ellen Swenson. She's the chief analyst for the Election Integrity Project California, a citizen-funded, nonpartisan 501c3 corporation. And we're discussing an article that Ellen wrote, Get Ready, California-style elections are coming to your state. We got to take a quick break. Please hold on for us. And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. We will be right back.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share. It's freedom from insurance. At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down. We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty
Health Share. This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
Thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. For rebroadcast of our shows, please check out our website, ccrshow.com. You can find our radio version there. Our television version can be found at conservativecommandosradioshow.com. Our guest this segment is Ellen Swenson. She's the chief analyst for the Election Integrity Project of California, a citizen-funded, nonpartisan corporation. Ellen, we're discussing your article, Get Ready, California-style elections are coming to your state. And you have in your article that California election officials and legislators have turned our elections into a free-for-all with few safeguards, all in the name of voter access. Could you talk about what has changed?
Yes, in fact, we've been a corporation since 2010, and just in that short time, these last 8 years, we have seen new initiative after new initiative being passed by the legislature and put into effect. That is, it's a good thing. You know, we want to improve voter access and make it easier to register and easier to vote. But the problem is they come without safeguards, and the typical pattern has been there's an initiative passed, everyone's all excited about the access it's going to provide. It's launched right before an election with very little, if any, testing, and then we have technical problems and other issues. For example, in 2012, one of the first initiatives we saw was online registration, which is a great thing. But we were concerned, and so were some of the other legislators, that there were a few safeguards on that, because we don't have the technology to really be able to properly bring in a new registration, make sure it's not a duplicate, and so on. Well, right away, they launched it right in September, right before the election of 2012, and we immediately found over 6,000 people who had duplicated their registrations using the online system. So they were already registered, they then re-registered. I'm not saying they did it on purpose or not, we don't know. And then later we saw that 113 of those people actually voted twice in that election. So they used this new online system, which should have caught that they were already registered, but it didn't. And that's a big problem with other initiatives as well. We have, for example, conditional voting now, where you can register and vote on the same day. But we know by looking at our databases in California that it's not technologically advanced enough to be able to find people who are already registered. I mean, I have people registered 5 times at the same address, and the system is not even catching that. Okay, so then how can they conditionally register, then vote that very moment, and you can't pull that vote back out of the tally. So that's another example. Yeah, it feels good to let people do it right on real time, but where's the safeguard? It's not there.
Well, we do need safeguards. We do need voter ID. I'll tell you another thing we need, Ellen. We need prosecutions. We need prosecutions of these people that are voting illegally, and prosecutions with real teeth, not just slaps on the wrist, but real. You also, in your article, you talked about the motor voter law out in California. Could you talk about those perils?
Yes, that is what's called the new motor voter program of California. And what it is, it's automatic registration, which this new House bill that's one of their tenets of the new House bill, is everybody would get registered automatically if they transact with a DMV or a welfare office or whatever. Again, that sounds good, but the problem is when they launched it right before the June 2018 election, and they immediately misregistered 23,000 people. They also had a lot of ineligible people registered. People's political parties were changed without their knowing it. And also, very importantly, many were changed to vote by mail. They were poll voters. They simply updated their driver's license, and yet they were changed to vote by mail. And on election day in November, we had hundreds of incidents recorded by our observers of people walking in to vote normally at the poll. They were told they were mail voter without their knowledge or consent, and they did not receive a mail ballot, like I was saying earlier. Even though they had been changed by the DMV to mail voter, they did not get a ballot, had to vote provisionally. And again, that added to the surge. We looked up, we have many witnesses who are willing to sign witness statements for us, and we'll be using those hopefully in a future lawsuit. But we looked up their registrations because we have access to their information, and we found that the majority of them had transacted with the DMV in the recent past. And so we know that that's what the source of this problem is. So imagine if the federal government makes every state do this, it's going to be a disaster. Not even putting aside the fact that they're meddling in federal meddling in state elections goes against the concept of federalism, but also that I don't think we have the technology to be able to handle that many new registrations.
Well, your article, Get Ready, California Elections Are Coming to a State, coming to your state, and a lot of people think can't happen. But for instance, in New Jersey, you got a governor out there, Phil Murphy, who's proud to say his envy, his idol is California, and he wants to make New Jersey just like it. But what I wanted to ask you, Ellen, is what about poll watchers? Are they powerless to stop this from happening?
Well, poll watchers we actually have our own poll watchers that we call them observers, that we train in the law, and then we put out into the polls. And then they document everything in an evidentiary manner, signed under penalty of perjury and so on. Then we bring that in, and our analysts, we code those and we database those, and then we create reports. In fact, I'm working on a report right now. Our hope is those poll observers themselves don't have any clout in the polling place, but we as an organization have clout. And again, we probably have to go through some kind of legal action because we tend to get ignored out here. But we did this with Judicial Watch, and it worked, and we're hoping to take some further action. But to find out, what happened to all those missing ballots, find out why the DMV is so messed up, and press charges or press legally to try to get that remedied.
California is the largest population state in the country. And the problem there is with census taking, with illegals, with illegal voting, California is going to be getting probably an additional 5 congressional seats. Can you foresee a time in the future when somebody is going to try to void California elections totally from being counted towards the federal or towards federal elections?
I think that would be a very difficult thing to do because we have a constitution, and that would be very difficult. And you don't want to silence the voice of all the California voters. However, I think it's a good move that our president and our current administration is wanting to ask about citizenship on the upcoming census. Now, California's fighting that tooth and nail, but what will happen is if we can prove that we have so many citizens, so many non-citizens in California, it might actually reduce the number of House seats that California has down, because right now we're counting illegals in that population when we assign different congressional districts.
Ellen Swenson, Chief Analyst for the Election Integrity Project California. Please take a couple of minutes and tell our audience about the Election Integrity Project, how they can get involved, how they could possibly help you out.
Okay, great. Well, we started in 2010, like I said. I'm a co-founder, and we were just grassroots people coming out of the Tea Party movement, honestly, and we were looking for something to do to help our country and our state. And we saw that there's a big need for citizen oversight in this state. So we developed the organization, and we slowly developed our own proprietary data queries. We learned we had volunteer SQL programmers and so on, and we have our own server, and we're very careful about security of the data. But we became very expert in how to look at voter lists and look and see if there's any anomalies in there. Also how to report them using legal language and so on. We had to create a big organization of poll observers, and so we work hard. It's more than a full-time job for all of us, and we're all unpaid.
Well, I gotta say, you guys are great. You really are, and your win, along with Judicial Watch, to get the voter rolls, the voter registration rolls, at least in Los Angeles County. When I first saw it, I said, this is huge. This is what we need in every county.
Yeah, and I think how it can help too is we have, we're always looking for donations, of course, because we're citizen funded. So our website is eip-ca.com, and or you can Google Election Integrity Project California. We always can use, because it's out of pocket and small donations that we rely on. And then I would say for how people can help the country is in their own state to keep an eye out, because this House bill might not pass. It won't pass the Senate in full.
Wait, stop. What House bill? Explain that.
Oh, I'm sorry. The H.R. 1, which is the House bill that I was warning about in my article, saying that the first legislative act of the new House under the Democrats is to bring some of these California laws to national. And so that's what my article is warning against. But if it doesn't, it'll pass the House, but it potentially, and parts of it might pass the Senate. But the real area to be careful of is what we've experienced in California, which is your state legislatures might start passing these same kind of laws. And in fact, Alex Padilla, our Secretary of State, he's the head of the Democratic Secretaries of State Association. So he's trying to push the Democratic Secretaries of States in other states to do similar things to California. So I would monitor your own state legislatures and look out for California-style laws and try to defeat them, or at least try to have safeguards put in.
All right. Ellen Swenson, Chief Analyst for the Election Integrity Project California. We want to thank you so much for not just coming on our show, but what you are doing for California and the country to assure clean, honest, and fair elections. Ellen, one more time, please give out your website, how they could follow your work and help you guys out.
Okay. Well, we're called Election Integrity Project California, Inc. is our actual name, but our website is eip-ca.com. And we're different from Judicial Watch's Election Integrity Project. They have the same name, but we are the California-specific organization. So we welcome donations or anything you can do. And again, pay attention in your own states.
Yeah, and from what I understand, it was you guys, the Election Integrity Project, who brought Judicial Watch in But I'll tell you, as I said, when I heard about your win out there in California, I was very excited that somebody is finally doing something to clean up the voter registration.
Thanks for bringing attention to it on air, too.
All right. Thank you. Take care, and God bless.
Bye-bye.
And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Nasser Sheikh and yours truly, Rick Trader.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share. It's freedom from insurance. At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down. We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty HealthShare has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty HealthShare is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
And thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. My co-host today is Sharon Angle, and I am Rick Trader. And for rebroadcast of our shows, please check out our websites. For the radio version, please go to ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. For the TV version, it's conservativecommandosradioshow.com. And Sharon, we have a longtime friend back with us. Please make that introduction.
Well, it's an honor and a pleasure to introduce Dr. Gerard Lameiro, who is an author, a philosopher, an economist, and an engineer. He is the author of 5 books and is a popular TV and talk radio show guest. Dr. Lameiro accurately predicted a Trump victory long before most pollsters and pundits gave Trump even a small chance of winning the presidential election. Dr. Lameiro correctly predicted every state that candidate Trump actually carried in the 2016 election. And his latest book is More Great News for America. Dr. Lameiro, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Great to be back with you. I love your show.
Thank you. Well, we love your forecasts, and we're here to ask you about this latest one. You have an early forecast for the 2020 presidential election, and we want to know who you think is going to be in the running.
Well, that's a very interesting question. And by the way, this is 2 years out, so there are many factors we can't take into account, but we're taking the long-range trends and the things that are going on that we do know about into account. I can go right to the bottom line and tell you who I think is running and what I think the results will be in the Electoral College. And by the way, you might know that I also have firsthand Electoral College experience because I was a member of the Electoral College for Ronald Reagan. I worked on his campaign in 1980, and I cast 1 electoral vote for him and 1 electoral vote for George Herbert Walker Bush for vice president, because you also get to vote separately for the vice president. But at any rate, right now, my early forecast for 2020 shows 3 candidates running. Donald Trump, not surprisingly, Mitt Romney as an independent, and the third one, the Democrat nominee, is former First Lady Michelle Obama, which is going to surprise a few of your listeners. And the Electoral College vote, which I just did, I think it was this week we calculated it, 367 electoral votes for Donald Trump, 171 for Michelle Obama, 0 for Mitt Romney.
Zero.
Zero.
Do you think he'll still run after your prediction? That would kind of chill my desire to run. I think if I knew that I was only going to get 0.
Well, I'll tell you. He signaled he was running in the Washington Post op-ed that appeared the day before he was sworn in. And just think what he did. The man who supported him, the head of the Republican Party and his party, he goes and attacks in a lengthy op-ed, which I thought was totally uncalled for and inappropriate, but it signaled a clear line in the sand that he's planning to be on the other side of Donald Trump. And the only reason one could do that at this stage in his career is if he's running for president. He has, according to my numbers, between 5 and 9% probability of getting the nomination away from Trump, so he's not going to get the nomination in the Republican Party. His only possibility is to essentially run as an independent. And he could easily do that, maybe run with Bloomberg, maybe run with somebody else like Howard Schultz, maybe John Kasich. We don't know who he'll run with, but right now it looks like he's running.
Well, we saw this when Ross Perot ran, and we saw this third-party candidate come in and be the spoiler. And so that has left a negative taste in the elector's mouth ever since. You just don't run a spoiler campaign and come out of it looking very good. And it looks like your forecast is saying exactly that same thing. I was amazed that some of the Democrats that are so prominent right now, Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, they didn't make the grade. Why is that?
Oh, well, there are a lot of good reasons. We can start with Hillary Clinton. People are just tired of the Clintons. They're tired of her. She ran a weak campaign, one that was very tiring. She could only go for a day or two, and she had to take 3 days off. And she was, falling when she's left one particular event. And people see her as old news, as a bad candidate, and as a proverbial loser because she keeps losing. That's not a good way to get a nomination. People are tired of Hillary Clinton. Joe Biden is similar. He doesn't have a real solid track record. He was able to win as vice president, but that's not the point of it. You want to see somebody who can run as a presidential candidate. And he also is perceived as sort of a dinosaur Democrat. He's old, his ideas are old, and a lot of the young Democrats and the young socialists, they think, oh, wow, this guy is not liberal enough, not even liberal, not socialist enough is the proper term, to run. So they don't like him in that reason either.
Well, so what happened to Bernie Sanders? I mean, I thought he was their hero, the socialist hero, or maybe Ocasio-Cortez. We've been kind of watching her action too, and thinking that she's a rising star. Yeah, a rising star, or Beto O'Rourke. There's three socialists here, and really Michelle Obama. I've never heard her classified as a socialist. She's a globalist for sure. But talk to us a little bit about those socialists. Too far left?
Well, in terms of winning the election, an outright socialist like Kamala Harris is going to lose almost immediately. She might be able to get 15-20% of the vote for the far left fringe that would vote for her, but not across the board, not in a lot of states. A lot of people, when they hear, Medicare for all, that she pronounces and that, they say, oh, that sounds great. And then they say, well, do you mind if the taxes go up to pay for it? They say, oh, no. Then their ratings for Medicare for all goes down. If they say, oh, are you willing to give up your doctor or your hospital or your current plan? They say, oh, no. So, a lot of these grandiose things about free cell phones for everybody, free transportation for everybody, free college tuition for everybody, they sound great. When you price them out, a lot of reality starts hitting. Even Howard Schultz, pronounced Democrat, indicated that socialism doesn't work, and it's not going to work here, and we can't afford it.
Well, good for him. At least he's seen the light. I'm thinking about Elizabeth Warren, too. Now, she's been kind of floated out there. It just seems like they've got a lot of people that they've been floating around, but they don't make your list.
Well, the problem is there are 36 people on the list. Okay, there are 8 official people who have said, I'm running, or have an exploratory committee of the 36. And between now and 2020, maybe we'll have all 36 come out. And every once in a while, somebody says they're not running. But there's an awful lot who are. But they basically fall into several camps. They fall into the dinosaur Democrats like Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders. They're old. Their ideas are old. They haven't gone anywhere. And they probably won't go anywhere. And they're too old and not liberal enough, according to some of the younger folks. So they've got a problem. Then on the other hand, you have the outright socialists. I mean, they want a single-payer health care so that we can have the same kind of quality life that Venezuelans now experience. You know, we too can eat dog food. and people are going to come to realize that, you know, the grandiose plans, you know, the price tag on Medicare for all, which I don't think will work, and that is about $36 to $40 trillion over 10 years. Believe it or not, and the question you need to ask Kamala Harris, or any of us need to ask, is where are you going to get the money from? Are you going to print it and have mega inflation? Or are you going to cut the entire rest of the budget to pay for it, cut out everything else, including a defense budget? Or are you planning to go to China, hat in hand, and say, we need to borrow $40 trillion from you because we don't have that money here? So they are totally unrealistic, and anybody with any sense of economics will call them on the carpet. And that's what happens, and that's what's going to happen. And I think that ultimately they're going to lose in 2020, not only because Trump is doing a good job, will continue to do a good job, the wall is going to be built, or it's going to be tied up in courts for a while, but it's still going to get built. And ultimately, a winning formula with a strong economy is much better than grandiose, utopian ideas that aren't going to work, because we have a lot more evidence that socialism fails in theory and in practice than anything they can say to the contrary.
Well, unfortunately, we have to go to a break before I can ask my ultimate question, which is why Michelle Obama?
No, ask
but
that
I'm going to.
Sharon,
You want me to ask that one before we go to the break?
Before we go to the break, yeah.
Well, you know, the obvious thing is it's a replay of Barack Obama, the race card. Is that why Michelle Obama, or why Michelle Obama? Does she come to the surface now? It seems she'd be old news as well. And we're not too into dynasties here in America.
Well, I'll answer it, I think, after your break, right? You don't want me to answer it now.
Answer it now, please do.
Oh, okay. Well, believe it or not, she, relative to some of the 36 and that, she actually has somewhat of some strengths, at least perceived from the socialist side of the fence. They know she's on their side. They know she doesn't really like America, so that's a plus from those people's mind. And she has the benefits of Obama and all his contacts, his fundraising capability, the infrastructure and connections. He's got a lot there. And that he's got a lot of deep state type help as well. So she's strong in that sense, but she's also strong if you take a look at something. And that is she's got a message that's resonating with the more leftist folks around the country. For example, she wrote a book not long ago. It sold 3 million copies in the first 30 days. That works out to be one book every second. And let me tell you, a lot of people buy my books, but I don't sell one book a second. I wish I did. Excuse me. By the way, I talk, all over the country. I do up to 500 shows a year. So this particular month, I've been on so many shows, I'm starting to get a little hoarse. So I apologize for that.
Well, we'll let you take a break now, and I'll let Rick ask his questions on the other side. We're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. We'll be right back.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call Low Cost Airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share. It's freedom from insurance. At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down. We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
Together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty
Health Share. This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
Thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host today is Sharon Angle, and our guest is a longtime friend of the show, Dr. Gerard Lameiro, and his latest book is More Great News for America. Dr. Lameiro, thank you for holding through that break. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, let me finish saying a few things about Michelle to finish answering your question. And one thing about Michelle is she has adamantly said she doesn't want to run for president. But it appears under the surface that they're actually preparing. And part of that book sale was what you do for a presidential candidate. You sell a book.
Right.
And hers were very popular, this particular book, among the leftists. And let me point out something, too, that's interesting about the book. And that is that it has sold more than any presidential memoir, which is pretty interesting, the speed at which it's sold. So she does have support among the far left.
Right. Dr. Lameiro, you as a pollster and someone who observes these candidates, isn't that the prerequisite that you can judge when somebody is running? They put out a book about 2 years before the election?
Yes. Let me correct one slight thing you said, and that is I'm not a pollster. I don't do polls. What I do is forecast models, which are based on variables and data, some of which goes back quite a while. And it's a different approach to election, discussion. Pollsters, they call 1,000 people, they superimpose it on their demographic model, and they come up with numbers. I do forecasting based on trends and different things, and I think it's more accurate than polls.
Well, I'm not going to argue against your accuracy. And I love telling this story. And Dr. Lamero, the day before the 2016 presidential election, we had you on and you predicted that Donald Trump would get 311 electoral votes. And I got to be honest with you, Doctor, I was a little skeptical because I heard all the pundits, all the pollsters who predicted a Hillary Clinton landslide. And I just wish I would have run out to Atlantic City or Las Vegas that day and put money down on Donald Trump. I didn't. So I am not going to challenge your methods at all. Dr. Lamero, so you said there are 36 potential candidates that will be running in 2020. I mean, will that be unprecedented?
I don't know. Technically, there have been elections where even 100 people have thrown their hat in the ring for president.
Wow.
But they're not like serious candidates. They're like, people that are just everyday jobs and they want to run. They say they're running, but nothing really happens. Mm-hmm. So having large numbers of regular citizens put their hat in the ring is not unusual. But serious candidates that have money, that are seriously trying to wrest the nomination from all the opponents, that's unusual. And certainly 2015, 2016, we had 17. We thought that was a lot. But right now, potentially, we've got 36.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, let's talk about people with money. Let's also talk about third-party candidates. We saw in 1992 what a third-party candidate did. Third-party candidate helped get Bill Clinton elected. We've seen what has happened in states like Virginia, in the governor's race, in the Senate race, where you had a third-party candidate. Well, there is, perhaps, in my opinion, I wanted to get your opinion, two potential third-party candidates here. One we talked about, Mitt Romney. The other is the former CEO of Starbucks, Howard Schultz, who is running and has made some speeches already. How do you think these two third-party candidates? And you talked a little bit about Romney, but can you talk about Schultz? Do you think that he could make a dent in this by running for president? You think that he will pull votes away from the Democrat candidate?
Yes, if he does run as an independent, he will take votes away. So will Mitt Romney. But Mitt Romney won't get any electoral votes, and neither would Howard Schultz. The problem with Howard Schultz, look at the reaction he got this week. He practically booed off the stage, and the Democrats see him as a spoiler for sure. They don't realize Mitt Romney's running.
Well, maybe we Republicans should throw a little support his way.
Well,
at least until the election day.
Well, I think that some have done that already. They've let it be known that they think it's nice that he's out there and is a more moderate Democrat, because he's not quite off the deep end. I don't think he's a socialist full-blown like a lot of the others. And so there has been a little support thrown in his direction, little talking points and that. No major support that I know of. But I do not think he could possibly win. He thinks that because the Democratic Party is so badly positioned now and positioning itself as this force of big obstacle to the wall, obstacle to everything. I mean, they're getting a really negative viewpoint. They've got people in the Democratic Party now that seem like they support Hamas. They have people that seem like they're just plain radicals and extremists. And certainly some are Marxist, socialists, and maybe some of them are even communist. And the American people pick up on this stuff. They're going to have 2 years with people like Pelosi and Ocasio-Cortez saying crazy things like raising taxes 70%.
Doctor, don't you love her, Ocasio-Cortez? She's so entertaining for me. I mean, hey, Doctor, I wanted to talk with you about two other money bags that have made some noise about running. One is Bloomberg, the other is Tom Steyer. What's your opinions on those two?
Well, I think Tom Steyer has indicated, at least for now, he wants to concentrate on impeachment. That's his big issue. So I don't think he's running. He's just going to throw his money toward impeachment, which is a good way to throw away money, because Donald Trump will not be impeached.
Right.
Well, if he is impeached, he won't be convicted, so he'll stay in office.
Right. What about Bloomberg, Michael Bloomberg?
Okay, well, Bloomberg is another possibility to run as a running mate with Mitt Romney, or the other way around. It could be Bloomberg with Mitt Romney as the vice presidential candidate. Mm-hmm. So those two might team up as the independents. But I think it would be in the independent realm. And I think Bloomberg is very, very liberal, but I don't think he's quite as bad or as unrealistic as some of the people like Kamala Harris.
All right. Dr. Gerard Lameiro, we want to thank you so much for joining us here on Conservative Commandos. Please tell our audience how they could follow your work and buy your book.
Well, my website is greatnewsforamerica.com. That's all one big word, greatnewsforamerica.com. I have 5 books that are selling all around the world, and they're both in print editions and also in Kindle. If you want to save some money and you like electronic books, they're available, and you can get them at Amazon or anywhere else that books are sold, although a lot of places you have to order them because they're not in stock. You know, they stock like the top liberal books, and then the conservative books you have to order.
Yeah, we found that out. Dr. Gerard Lameiro, again, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
God bless you, and I say God bless to all your audience, too.
All right. Thank you so much. And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call Low Cost Airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share. It's freedom from insurance. At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down. We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty
Health Share. This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
The AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landreth with Rick Manning. We, of course, are your Conservative Commandos host today. This is the place the newsmakers go to be heard, and we have a great newsmaker coming right up. In fact, I'm going to introduce him momentarily. I just want to remind you, if you want to hear a rebroadcast of our show today, just check out our websites, ccrsnetwork.com and ccrshow.com. And for you classic rock fans out there, CCR Show does not stand for Creedence Clearwater Revival. It stands for Conservative Commandos Radio Show. So CCR Show. Anyhow, I am very pleased to introduce our first guest today. That's Peter Roth. He is a respected conservative commentator on politics and public policy matters. He's a friend of the show. He's a friend of mine, and he should be a friend of yours if he's not already. He is a contributing editor at Newsweek. He's also a senior fellow at a number of respected conservative think tanks, including one I'm familiar with, Frontiers of Freedom. In a previous life, Peter ran Speaker Newt Gingrich's GOPAC. He was also a senior political writer for the United Press International, and he was a contributing editor at U.S. News and World Report. And you've probably also read his work published in a number of places like Fox News. Today, we've got a piece that was in the Washington Examiner, and of course, with his regular columns at Newsweek. He's also a regular guest at One America News. So I know you've heard of him, I know you've seen him, and I know you've read him. But with that, Peter, welcome to the Conservative Commandos.
Good to be with you, George, as always.
Absolutely. Always enjoy having you on. You're always insightful and interesting, and you always have a take on things that I think is just, kind of a cut above the ordinary take on things. So anyhow, you have a very good article recently in the Washington Examiner, and it's about corn on your plate, not in your tank. Let's talk about that issue a little bit, because it's wintertime. Sometimes fuels things change throughout the year. So what were you trying to get across to your readers in that article?
Well, basically that the high price of gasoline back in the first decade of the century drove what was supposed to be a Manhattan Project to create the production of fuels made from renewable resources, plants, agricultural waste product, algae, and it didn't work. We were promised that we'd be able to make fuel in commercial quantities that mixed with gasoline could be burned in the engine of a car, from switchgrass, from seaweed, from wood chippings and the things that they don't use in the paper making process, and it just didn't happen. Not anyone's fault, just didn't happen. The problem is that the politicians wrapped the promise of these fuels into actual public policy and created the RFS, the Renewable Fuel Standard, which says that over time, the gasoline or the fuel that goes into our vehicles, our trucks, our cars, even our lawnmowers, our scooters, has to be increasingly made of biofuels, renewable fuel. Well, the only one that works to any degree is ethanol. You can make ethanol from sugar, as they do in Brazil, or you can make ethanol from corn, as they do here in the United States. Now, we didn't plan necessarily to need as much ethanol as we now do to meet the renewable fuels standard, and states have their own standards, because we thought there'd be other things that you could put in, but there aren't. So more and more ground that could be used to plant corn that goes into the food supply, either because we eat it or it goes into things, or it goes into things we eat, like chickens, cows, pigs, deer, elk, bison, makes the cost of food go up. doesn't do much to help our engines, and does absolutely nothing to help the environment.
Yeah, you make a very good point about the engine issue, because my understanding is that ethanol is pretty rough on an engine in a way that your traditional fossil fuel or gasoline is not. And so,
well, anybody who's forgotten to empty the tank on their lawnmower in November knows what I'm talking about, because you go out after the first rain in April and the grass is 4 inches tall, and you reach down and you pull on the rope and nothing happens
until your arm falls off because it won't start.
You pull on the rope again and nothing happens. And by the time you've spent enough at the handyman shop that you could have actually just gone to your local big box lawn and garden store and bought a new lawnmower, you're back in business.
Right. Yeah, and my understanding is even on our big automobiles, the fact is our cars won't last as long because of the corrosive nature of alcohol in the fuel as compared to and it also burns. We get lower horsepower out of the same amount and so forth. So, and then you mentioned
certainly if you're an occasional driver, if you're somebody who drives every day and goes through a tank or so a week, not as much of a problem. But if you're somebody that only has to go out once in a while, it's the second car, it can have a very, very damaging effect, to the point that some auto manufacturers like Ford are at least suggesting that they're not going to honor damage caused by ethanol under warranty service.
Yeah.
Now, at the same time, President Trump, who firmly endorsed ethanol when he ran for president in Iowa, wants to go to year-round E15 or E85, depending. What that means is it'd be 15% ethanol, 85% gasoline. And that's supposed to produce fewer emissions from automobiles than it would if you were just running on regular gasoline. But in fact, the automobiles are a very small part of the emissions issue.
Right.
Now, whether you believe in man-made or man-caused global warming or not, it is a fact that automobile exhausts emit certain chemicals like carbon dioxide. The car today, if you went out and bought a new car this year, it would, running at full steam, produce fewer emissions than a 1973 Ford LTD sitting in the driveway. That's how much we've done to improve the emissions. Well, I don't know if it's an improvement, but to decrease the emissions on automobiles. The real concerns about particulate matter and what certain people call greenhouse gas, like carbon dioxide, comes from us by breathing, human beings, and it comes from the expenditure of energy to heat our homes in the winter, cool them in the summer, produce things like automobiles and computers and air conditioners and refrigerators and all those things that make life in the first world so much easier than in other parts of the world where economic security and technology have not taken root as they have in the Western world. So tinkering around with automobiles is sort of like worrying that the faucet's dripping when the bathtub is overflowing.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good analogy. We're up against the clock, so we've got to take a quick break. I want to come back after the break and kind of finish up the thought of your article, because I think you make some very good points. And one point you mentioned, but we haven't gotten to yet, is just how it doesn't really do much for the environment. The thought is that ethanol will be so much cleaner, and it's not. But after the break, we'll get to that. And then I also, if we get a chance, I want to hit on your article about Nancy Pelosi as well. Again, more insightful stuff. But we're talking to Peter Roth. He, of course, is our guest today. He's been a guest before. He's a friend of mine, should be a friend of yours. But you are listening to the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landreth with Rick Manning, and we are coming to you on the Conservative Commandos radio network all across this great nation, and carried to you now on the also on the AUN TV network in California and Nevada. And if you don't have a broadcast tower nearby, then of course you can still catch us, except for maybe in communist China, North Korea, and Iran on Al Gore's amazing internet. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call Low Cost Airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share. It's freedom from insurance. At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down. We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for healthcare.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty.
Liberty
Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
The AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landwith with Rick Manning. And, you know, if you want to hear a rebroadcast of our show, and I'm sure you will, particularly since if you are just coming to the show now, you've missed part of Peter Roth's interview, you'll want to definitely catch that. So you can do that at ccrsnetwork.com, ccrshow.com, and there you can get all the information. We've been talking with Peter Roth, and just to reintroduce him briefly, he's a contributing editor at Newsweek. He's active in the think tank world as well. He's been involved with media. You've probably seen him, read his stuff at Fox News, seen him on One America News, all kinds of places. But bottom line, we were talking with Peter about an article he wrote this week about putting corn on your plate rather than in your tank, and this was at the Washington Examiner. So, Peter, maybe just to conclude that thought, I would just ask you, in a few sentences or a short paragraph, why, if I'm sitting in the tank filling my car up, I shouldn't be real happy if they're forcing me to buy lots of gasoline that has ethanol in it.
Well, first of all, we're not running out of oil. Secondly, that means we're not running out of gasoline. Thirdly, the environmental benefits to ethanol are minimal. The damage that's caused to your engine is real. The damage that's caused to the food supply is real. The impact on prices is real. And so we've been sold a bill of goods that while it may be good for certain farmers in Iowa who are getting subsidies from the federal government, is not good for the rest of us. When you introduced me in the last segment, you forgot to tell people that they can follow me on Twitter at Peter Roth at Peter Roth.
At Roth, R-O-F-F.
Just at Peter Roth, R-O-F-F, yeah.
Right.
And please don't throw a brick with a note attached to it through my window.
Fair enough.
A brick that doesn't have a note attached to it through my window either, but
either one. Fair enough. I think that's a fair clarification. Now, you wrote a good article. I really enjoyed reading it in Newsweek, and it was about Nancy Pelosi and the mistakes she's making with the shutdown. And, of course, this week we've had news on the State of the Union and how that relates to the shutdown. So why don't you just give us a quick update on how you see those things and whether you think she's making a mistake, whether Donald Trump's making a mistake. How do you see the dynamics of this, battle?
First of all, Nancy Pelosi needs to understand that Donald Trump doesn't bluff. And Donald Trump is one guy responsible to one guy. Nancy Pelosi is one person responsible to her conference and to the House of Representatives as a whole. And so the State of the Union was scheduled for January 29th. By tradition, since the presidency of Woodrow Wilson, it's been delivered from the podium just in front of the speaker's the speaker's dais in the House of Representatives chamber, because it's big enough to hold all members of the House, all members of the Senate, the ambassadors, the generals, the Supreme, everybody who comes. Big party. Pelosi wrote to Trump and said, because of the shutdown, because I'm not sure we can guarantee your security, let's postpone the State of the Union. Trump wrote back and said, no. I've talked to the Department of Homeland Security and Secret Service, and you invited me for the 29th. They tell me my security is not a problem, so I'm coming on the 29th. Pelosi then wrote back to Trump and said, no, you're not coming on the 29th. So what you're either going to have is Donald Trump marching up to Capitol Hill, being turned away, which is going to make Nancy Pelosi look really, really bad in the eyes of independent voters who hold probably the balance of power in the American electorate, and frankly among a lot of Democrats, and certainly among the Trump base, which among the Republicans is somewhere north of 95%. Or Trump is going to go someplace else, like the U.S. border with Mexico, surround himself with angel families and Border Patrol and immigrations and customs people and potentially members of Congress and perhaps some border governors, and say, you know, the state of our union is not secure. We have the lowest unemployment rate in decades. Strong job creation, productivity is up, the market is up, interest rates are holding steady, we don't have core inflation, the economy is roaring, but none of that is secure as long as we have a porous border on between the United States and Mexico. Not just because people come across that border illegally looking for work, but because people come across that border illegally carrying disease, carrying drugs, carrying counterfeit merchandise, carrying weapons, and with the intent to commit crimes. Whether those are crimes against persons like murder, kidnapping, rape, or they're economic crimes like the sale of counterfeit drugs and counterfeit bags and counterfeit CDs and counterfeit DVDs that are often, we're told by the FBI and the people in the intellectual property movement, used to fund terror groups. It's a bad thing, and I just don't see how the Democrats can respond to that. They've certainly ceded the optics. They can't get up and walk out of a speech they're not in. They can't boo a speech they're not attending. They can't remain seated while Republicans give him a standing ovation if they're not sitting in the same room with the Republicans. So I think she's ceded the optics, she's ceded the field to Trump, and she's pushed this conversation into an arena where Trump is an expert and she's a rank amateur.
Yeah. I think most people just view the State of the Union as kind of, sure, the president, whoever he may be, is going to give a message that his base will like, and in that sense it's partisan. But the event is a nonpartisan event. It's been held forever, and I think the fact that she's going to look like she's canceling it, and people are going to say... And
frankly, George, usually it is meaningless. Usually there's a lot of pomp and circumstance involved, and it's important to the Washington crowd. And for the pundits like me who have to have something to talk about for 48 hours. But for the course and direction of a presidency, reiteration of the same things I campaigned on. Here's what I want to do. Right. Congress, give me the money. Congress, give me the authority. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. And the president's party says, "Oh, a historic speech," and the opposition party says, "Oh boy, that was a real nose holder." But because of the fight between Trump and Pelosi, This particular State of the Union has been given enormous weight.
That's a fair point.
Because everybody's watching to see who's going to break first. There is a way around an obstinate speaker who refuses to bring something to the floor, and that's called a discharge petition. What that is basically is a piece of legislation, or in this case, the resolution that says essentially, Mr. President, please come to the House chamber on January 29th and give your speech at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. as was previously scheduled. If they can get a majority of the House to sign that discharge petition, it comes to the floor immediately. So Republicans and sensible Democrats who think they are being damaged by Nancy Pelosi's intransigence can work together. And if they can get a majority of House members to sign this discharge petition, and that'd be 218, so that'd be all the Republicans and a handful of Democrats who may be able to fall back on the I have respect for the institution even if I don't particularly care for the president line of argument, then Nancy Pelosi will have been rolled by the members of the House.
Very interesting.
And it will be a major defeat for her speakership.
Yeah. Well, our time is about up, but I did say I'd love to hear, just remind our listeners how they can follow your work.
Follow me at Peter Roth on Facebook, on Twitter, at Peter Roth on Twitter. You can read my columns once a week at Newsweek.com in the opinion section. You also will occasionally find me in places like the Washington Times, Investors Business Daily, the Daily Caller, the Washington Examiner, and you can see me once a week on Mondays on the Daily Ledger, on the One America News Network. I also do retirement parties, bar mitzvahs, and children's birthday parties.
Fair enough. Well, thanks for being with us. It was great to have you on the show. It always is, always insightful and always interesting. You're listening to Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landreth with Rick Manning, and we are coming to you on the Conservative Commandos radio network, broadcast all across this great nation, and on the AUN TV network, broadcast in California and Nevada, and of course, always on Al Gore's amazing internet.